In September 2015, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development that includes 17 Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), building on the principle of leaving no one behind. The new agenda emphasizes a holistic approach to achieving sustainable development for all. The 2030 Agenda has reinvigorated national development planning processes as countries work to align their national development priorities with global goals for sustainable development. While achieving the SDGs will require a global effort, individual countries are charged to make concerted efforts to raise and direct financing to where it is most needed for the actualization of the goals in a bid to eradicate poverty, reduce inequalities, and protect the environment from degradation. The Development Agenda was a successor framework to the Millennium Development Goals, which enjoyed the endorsement and commitment of world leaders between 2000 and 2015. As one of the leaders who signed up for the adoption of the Global Agenda, President Muhammadu Buhari repeatedly declared his unflinching commitment to the attainment of the 17 goals and 169 targets, while also providing it with institutional and financial supports. The Global Agenda seeks to end poverty, ensure zero hunger, promote good health and well-being, deliver access to quality education, and ensure gender equality. The agenda also seeks to provide clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, promote industry, innovation and infrastructural development, as well as help reduce inequality. Also contained in the agenda are provision of sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, intensified effort in climate action, preservation of life below water and life on land, promotion of peace, justice, and strong institution, while encouraging strategic partnership in attaining the goals. Since the commencement of the implementation of the SDGs on January 1, 2016, Nigeria and the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government have been taking concrete steps towards the actualization of the goals. In the thinking of President Buhari, the attainment of the goals is synonymous to giving meaningful development to the citizenry. He believes that when the government is able to deliver on the goals, the whole essence of governance would have been met.
With the adoption of the 2030 Agenda, we set for ourselves an ambitious goal of seeing an economically sustainable, socially inclusive, and environmentally resilient world. For Nigeria and indeed Africa as a whole, the achievement of the SDGs will mean ending poverty and hunger, safeguarding our ecosystem, and ensuring that our people live in peace and prosperity by the year 2030.
In apparent demonstration of our commitment, the Nigerian government established a robust institutional arrangement for the implementation of the goals, while also driving the SDGs with innovations, implementation of pro-poor and pro-development programs, undertaken in the quest to bequeath to the people a desired future in which no one is left behind. The office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs was established with Princess Adejoke Orelokpe Adefulire as the coordinator of the agenda.
I am aware from official statistics that approximately 54% of Nigerians live below the poverty line as defined by World Bank. It is pertinent to state that reducing extreme poverty and hunger is one of the cardinal objectives of our administration. It is for this reason that our government acted quickly in the implementation of the SDGs by establishing the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on the SDGs in January 2016. The office is charged with the responsibility for strategic planning, horizontal and vertical intergovernmental coordination, multi-stakeholders partnership, and resource mobilization. It is also mandated to lead robust advocacy and communication for the SDGs in Nigeria.
A presidential council for the SDGs was inaugurated by the president to provide high-level policy guidance and leadership, as well as direction on the implementation, while two standing committees on the SDGs were established in the Senate and House of Representatives of the Parliament to enhance legislative engagements. The government also set up the Private Sector Advisory Group, the Donors Partnership Forum, and the Civil Society Strategy Group as key partners for the SDGs in a bid to strengthen the national awareness around the goals and build strong commitment towards effective collaborations with all stakeholders.
Unlike during the MDGs, where we lost about 7 to 8 years before we took off. But that was adopted, it can be explained, that was adopted, but we learned some lessons from that, and quickly we started work early as soon as the world leader adopted the SDGs. And immediately we adopted, we found out that the public sector alone cannot, if truly we want to achieve SDG, cannot achieve SDG. So we have to work together with the private sector, and that was why the first agenda of this office is to see how we mobilize the private sector and appointed them. That was February 2017.
As part of efforts to prevent the drawbacks found with the implementation of the Millennium Development Goals, the government has been mobilizing hundreds of core members across the country every year as SDGs champion to take the campaign on implementation of SDGs to the grassroots in various parts of the country.
The NYC core champion were all over the country. They are champions, our advocates. So we made them our advocates so that wherever they are posted, and if there's any gap, they quickly get to us so that we can quickly intervene. And that's the essence of, and they are very helpful in doing all of that, because we need to be everywhere, and we cannot be here in Abuja to get every needs from every community. So that has been helpful in terms of sensitization, advocacy, and getting people to get to know of SDG.
Also, 13 frontline celebrities have been enlisted as SDGs ambassadors to help communicate the messages of Agenda 2030, generate momentum and citizens' commitment for the achievement of the SDGs in Nigeria, and raise awareness on all the goals with a view to enhancing actions by key players to attaining the SDGs. Beyond these, however, is the recognition by the government that the SDGs cannot be achieved with standalone programs and projects. They must be carefully mainstreamed into the policies, plans, and actual budgets of the national and sub-national government, while also ensuring that actual expenditures are aligned with such plans and budgets. The government integrated the core areas of concern to the SDGs, such as food security, agriculture, inclusive growth, industry, infrastructural development into the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP 2017 to 2020. Work has also commenced on SDGs needs assessment, policy and scenario analysis, as well as tracking and reporting. Indicators have been developed, and the SDGs baseline survey has been finalized to address the lack of accurate and reliable data for planning and tracking performances across the 3 tiers of government. And to further back these thoughts with action, the government in 2017 commenced the process of domesticating and customizing the Integrated Sustainable Development Goals (ISDG) simulation model and was officially launched in 2019 at the sideline of the 74th session of the UN General Assembly in New York. This placed Nigeria elite list of the few countries, if not the first country, in the global south to have developed a homegrown analytical framework for SDGs integration, and it is believed this will go a long way in helping to bridge the policy, planning, and budgeting gap in the quest to achieve the SDGs in Nigeria.
As a government, we have since recognized that to achieve the 2030 agenda and the SDGs, we must scientifically understand our implementation context, carefully formulate policies and programs, and judiciously apply human and financial resources. This cannot be achieved with ad hoc planning. It was our genuine desire for scientific planning and implementation of the SDGs that made Nigeria to commence the process of domestication and customization of the Integrated Sustainable Development Goals model in 2017.
Nigeria is taking a giant leap to ensuring that actual expenditures are aligned with such plans and budgets. Emphases are made on effective interagency and subnational coordination and collaboration, while providing for robust and comprehensive national statistical information system for monitoring progress on the SDGs, with the realignment of the national statistical system and signing of the data bond with the ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as the sub-national government. In the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, sustaining financing, strategic policies and impact programs are major requirements. Against this backdrop, the Buhari administration has been reinforcing government and stakeholders' commitment towards financing the SDGs in Nigeria. The government has also developed a 10-year plan for the implementation of the SDGs, while efforts are being intensified to come up with a sustainable financing mechanism tagged Integrated National Financing Framework (INFF) for sustainable development. The move underscores the country's commitment to taking a holistic, data-driven, and long-term approach to the development of a financing strategy for the SDGs. It was also in line with recent steps, including the development of an SDG baseline performance indicator database and the domestication of an integrated SDG ISDG tool for data analysis and modeling.
The Nigeria SDG model, the report of which we will officially launch today, will serve as a framework for robust, fact-based policy analysis, planning and implementation at all levels of government. It is expected to be used as a planning tool to complement existing ones currently in use at the national, sectorial, and sub-national levels. Going forward, we expect policymakers and planners to judiciously utilize this model to guide our efforts towards the achievement of the SDGs and other internationally agreed development goals.
The Integrated National Financing Framework (INFF) is designed to strengthen the commitment of policymakers, development practitioners, and private investors in the implementation of the SDGs. The agenda of achieving the SDGs by 2030 is broad, complex, and spread beyond the capacity of the government. Hence, the need to mobilize both public and private funds to ensure the actualization of the goals by 2030. The INFF has 4 key building blocks: assessments and diagnostics, financing strategy, monitoring and review, governance and coordination.
The general thinking of not only the SSAP herself, but also the Honorable Minister of Finance, who is the chair of the Integrated National Financing Framework Steering Committee, is to look for innovative financing mechanisms that will support the financing of the SDGs. The idea of moving away from funding the SDGs to financing the SDG is the way to go. The idea is looking for the private capital, impact investment, sukuk bond, diaspora bond, green bond. Now we're talking even about blue bond and SDG standalone bond. So these are the financing mechanisms that we are looking forward to support critical infrastructure that will enable the achievement of the SDGs in Nigeria. So what we're doing with the design and possible implementation of the Integrated National Financing Framework is precisely to achieve this, mapping out the entire financing ecosystem in the country, the public, the private sector, the philanthropy, and all that into one document that will guide, our aspiration in line with the Addis Ababa Action Agenda for Financing Development, to see how best we can support this. And therefore, the future is funding, not finance. Is financing, not funding.
Beyond the very robust institutional arrangement for implementation, Nigeria is driving the SDGs with innovations and strategic interventions. Nigeria has also put in place mechanisms for identifying and targeting the poor with pro-poor and pro-development programs undertaken in the quest to bequeath to the people a desired future in which no one is left behind. Key efforts in this area include massive investments in quality and inclusive education, healthcare and well-being, water and sanitation, as well as empowerments and skills development.
We also provide some schools infrastructures to address prepare for the out-of-school children back in school. We work with them closely and ensure that we support the local government in ensuring that we add more classrooms. In the last 4 years or 5, we have added more than 2,000 number of classrooms to what the local government should do and the state. When we came in, we found out that the infant and maternal mortality are high. With the support of the office and intervention that we have introduced, we have also completed both 149, 120 and 100-bed hospital in about 32 states of the population. So we hope that the remaining states will be, and FCT will be taken this year or next year by the grace of God. Of course, the critical infrastructure, which is primary healthcare center. As we speak now, we have done more than 200 primary healthcare centers to support some states, maybe I think all the 36 states of the Federation, to ensure that the local rural community, the rural community gets as a health coverage and they get well treated, and that is the spirit of leaving no one behind.
In the development of a child, education has been described as an important key that can help unlock all the potentials. Education is also central to the attainment of other goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Quality education as provided for in Goal 4 of the SDGs is critical to the bid to break from the cycle of poverty, reduce inequalities, achieve gender equality, as well as the other global goals. For Nigeria, one of the key challenges in delivery on the education goal is the problem of out-of-school children, with an estimated number of over 10 million children roaming the streets. The task have been that of taking the children back into the classrooms by ensuring increased enrollment. One of the initiatives of the Buhari administration in this regard is the recent inauguration of the Steering Committee for Alternate School Program. The alternate school program has as its mandate to improve access to education for all Nigerian children in alignment with Sustainable Development Goal (SDG 4), which aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education as well as promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The alternate school program therefore hopes to help tip the scales and achieve a balance in this disproportionately lopsided state of affairs by providing an innovative and flexible approach to schooling as well as skills development. By focusing on out-of-school children, the ASP will ensure a reversal of Nigeria's abysmal statistics. Also, working to achieve the same ends, the federal government, through the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, has embarked on rehabilitation and building of new classrooms across the country. Interventions by the SDGs office have resulted in either rehabilitation or construction of over 2,600 classrooms equipped with VIP toilets, external works, educational, instructional materials and furniture, among others across the country.
We have too many people outside the school environment, out of school children. And of course, the need to create an enabling environment for those people that are in school and make provision for those that we want to bring back to school. You recall that the president inaugurated the steering committee on alternate school. The essence of all of these things is to make sure that we get all the children of school age back in school. The intervention is to support the Federal Ministry of Education, support the subnational government Ministry of Education, and ensure that more of our young people that are out of school are back in school. So that is ongoing, and we are monitoring the progress, and we're happy to report that by next year we should make some significant progress. So our intervention in that direction is to ensure that, to some extent, maintain the existing classroom, build more classrooms, and provide water, solar, and make the school conducive for learning for our children. It's a little contribution to support the subnational government, aside from the conditional grant scheme, which the fund of the federal government that will give to the state government, the 50% to be matched by the state government to provide those infrastructure and to complement what we're able to do as interventions.
A key intervention in this regard was the partnership of the office with a Chinese company, NetDragon Websoft, which led to establishment of digital classrooms designed to equip pupils with ICT skills at Pilot Science Nursery and Primary School. The ICT facilities have enhanced the learning by the children, while teaching process revealed a massive impact. The intervention projects carried out on the school by the OSAP SDGs include the construction of new classrooms and the complete renovation of dilapidated blocks, upgrading the ICT unit class into a smart class while installing solar panels and inverters to constantly supply power to the ICT center, construction of a sports pavilion and playground for the children, and equipping the classes with learning materials. Sharing their experiences, the children explain how the intervention has positively impacted their learning skills. The teachers at the pilot school also narrate the situation before and after the intervention by the OSAP SDGs. Yet, the Pilot Science School is only one of the numerous schools that have benefited from the massive interventions by the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs. Just recently, the office completed the rehabilitation of 4 schools in Ota community of Ogun State that were established over 40 years ago, but had become dilapidated over the years. The comprehensive interventions in the schools, namely St. Michael's African Church Primary School 1 and 2, and the Ansaruddin Practicing School 1 and 2 in Ota, Ogun State, involved construction of over 45 new classrooms, renovation of old ones, construction of staff room and school library, provision of furniture and fans for classrooms and staff rooms, provision of potable water, new toilets, and a sports pavilion. The interventions, which have resulted in a total turnaround of the schools, are confirmed by the heads, teachers, and pupils of the schools, have elicited commendations for the federal government and the OSAP SCGs for bringing life back to the schools. Speaking recently to Agenda 2030, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SCGs, Princess Orelope Adefolire, said the interventions were part of the efforts of the Buhari's administration to create an enabling environment and support efforts of the sub-national governments to increase enrollment and bring children who are out of school back to the classrooms.
War is an evil net that traps the innocent and the guilty.
War is a wildfire that spreads beyond the quenching efforts of men.
The weak, the strong, the rich, the poor, even the unborn will have no hiding place.
Tribes and tongues and religions will no longer make any meaning at all.
Knowledge will fail you. The economy will be grounded. Your political connections will be useless. And life in general will be stranded if not ended.
Manipulators, troublemakers, and table shakers will not be exempted.
That is why we must make peace the only option in Nigeria.
Join us in one love to preach peace in all the 36 states in Nigeria, including AFCT.
For peaceful engagements through town hall meetings, rallies, and unity concerts. Remember, the two strongest warriors are patience and time.
Make peace the only option now.
This message is brought to you by the Ambassador of Voice for Change Initiative, supported by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, and the Federal Capital Territory.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina, you dey cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver.
This is Talking Movies.
In times of old, the world was full of wonder.
No.
Stop it! Welcoming you to your weekend for today.
Arise, O compatriots. It's time to use our voice.
Beyond Six Packs.
Bills.
Pay the bills. Keep paying telephone bills. On my bills.
Welcome to Gallery.
Me and my paddies.
London for what?
London for medicine.
Medicine for what?
Medicine for coffee.
Are you sickness?
To our illness. Welcome to Gist Zone.
All right, my name is the Eselucien Wego One. Ona nyokoko nyonyo.
Fellow compatriots, if no single tribe or religion has defeated poverty, then no single tribe or religion can develop Nigeria. The success story of every state and capital is the contribution of every tribe and religion. Our Nigeria no be wazobia. No majorities or minorities. Every tribe and every religion still dey hustle for naira when no get tribe or religion. So, my country people, let's join this movement that says Naira no get tribe and use the Naira to develop our Naira land. Citizens first. Citizens before state of origin. Citizens before your religion. Citizens before your ethnic belonging. For participation, call 0902 739 5555.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hello, welcome to Health Options. I am Rabi Abdullah. On this episode of the program, we are going to discuss disease under the acronym DATIS. Not familiar with the acronym? Well, DATIS stands for deficiency, abuse, toxicity, infections, injury, sedentary living, and stress. There are certain things that cause diseases in the natural realm that you must know, and that will only be possible if you invest your time with us on the program. On Nature's Scanner, we shall share with you a video on simple trick to lower blood pressure you might want to try out. Thanks for joining us on the program. If you're just joining us, this is Health Options, and we want to discuss disease under the acronym DATIS. And to take us through this is an integrative medicine expert and neurotoxicologist of familiar face on Health Options, Dr. Tor Abide. It's nice to see you again, Dr. Abide.
It's always my pleasure, Rabi.
Okay, DATIS, D-A-T-I-I-S-S. DATIS is an acronym that is strange to me, and I'm sure to some other people out there. But you're the expert here, so we'd like you to start by breaking down DATIS. What is DATIS all about?
Well, thank you very much, Rabi. In these days, and in any other frame, learning is becoming easier. So you can see that using 7 different letters, we have just defined the causes of disease by saying DATIS.
Start with the D now. Give us the breakdown.
Yeah, maybe before I start with the D,
okay.
I'd like to make these statements right up front, and that is to say that man is born to live and die. How soon you live and, how well you live and how soon you die depends on your lifestyle.
How many years or for how old can man really get to?
Very good. One is supposed to live up to 130 years. Actually, life just begins at 70. But how you are close to these numbers, it depends on your lifestyle and then diet, which is what forms DATIS.
Okay. So start now with the D.
Okay.
The D in the DATIS.
D stands for deficiency.
Okay.
Deficiency simply means you are supposed to have this, or in terms of our bodies, certain nutrients, certain micronutrients, certain macro and micronutrients, and you don't have them enough. So once that state is created, you are said to be deficient. There are actually 3 what you call the macronutrients when you talk about diet and nutritional factors. There are macronutrients. You're talking about the carbohydrates, you talk about the protein, then you talk about fats and then oil.
The 6 balance.
Yes, this is actually we no longer use the word balanced diet. We use adequate diet.
Oh, okay. The 6 adequate diet.
Yes. So you should make sure that simply put that your diet should make up each of these 3 major macro, nutrients. So the macronutrients. That's carbohydrate, protein, fat, and then oil. However, there is also what we call the micronutrients. These are the ones that the body requires in smaller amounts. You're talking about milligrams. You're not talking about maybe a cup of porridge or a handful of pounded yam.
It's just
no,
minute.
Just minute.
Okay.
In units expressed. Some of them are even expressed as being needed in nanograms. That is 10 to the power of 9. You see, so they are very, very, but put together they are very, very essential. You can see that our body actually requires about over 60 minerals that our body requires. It requires over 30, vitamins that the body requires. Without some of these, you will see that the body cannot function properly. Take, for example, deficiency. There is what we call the principle of one cause and many problems. That is to say that in one of these micronutrients, take for example zinc, take for example selenium, the deficiency of one can result in about 9 different symptoms that you are seeing. This reminds us of the fact that the body actually works together. This idea of looking at the heart differently, looking at the liver differently, looking at the kidneys differently, doesn't exist. It doesn't hold in this contemporary understanding of medicine and the way the body actually works.
What are some of those things the absence of zinc deficiency could cause in the body?
Take for example, when the coronavirus, that is a SARS-CoV-2, comes into the body requires a lot of, or the virus requires a lot of zinc. It kind of mops up the zinc in the body so that it can do undergo what you call viral replication. That's why there is zinc deficiency in presence of of the virus in COVID-19. So you see, that is the reason and the rationale behind giving zinc to COVID-19 patients. And zinc is also emphasized to actually prevent for prophylactic and prevention purposes. Each of these viruses has their own different macronutrients that they need to actually mobilize themselves in the body. Selenium is associated with HIV viral deficiency. Zinc is associated with SARS-CoV-2 virus, and vitamin C is associated with Ebola. And that's why you see, once the Ebola virus gets into the body, it mops out vitamin C. That's what results to a condition known as scurvy. Then you see you have bleeding of the mucous membrane, and then causing bleeding.
Are you saying that now more than ever people should endeavor to find out where they stand, where these very, very important micronutrients are concerned?
Very, very intelligent and very important point that you have made. Yes. And that is to say that individuals or people should no longer just go on taking some of these. First of all, you want to establish there is what we call the required daily average. That is under the normal settings. Take, for example, in case of zinc, the normal required daily average for zinc is just 8 milligrams in case of women, and then 11 or 12 for men. However, in disease state, you require much more than that, or in deficiency state. In fact, there is a normal requirement, there is deficiency state, and there is disease state. The amount at each state keeps increasing almost tenfold. That is to say, if a woman requires 8 milligrams of zinc in normal, for the normal balance, in disease state, you need at least you need over 40 or even 100. Until what I'm saying, you need that high. I'm not saying you should be on that tomorrow throughout. But the moment you overcome that, then you can talk about maintenance level. And the only way you can know this is through measuring. Go to the labs, work with your medical doctor, who will send you to the lab. The results comes back. He knows how to interpret it. Another example I would like to give about zinc is a condition known as fatty liver disease. There are particular enzymes of the liver, you call them alkaline phosphatase, all of them. But specifically alkaline phosphatase requires zinc for its own synthesis. So you can see that once there is that deficiency of zinc, you can have the condition known as fatty liver disease. So I am encouraging us, under normal circumstances, let's get our organic, food for this mineral.
Okay, maybe you just chip in the aspect of low sperm count in men and how these micronutrients,
Yeah, specifically, one of the important roles or functions of zinc in the body is is associated, directly affects the fertility, or what you're talking as infertility, precisely. Low sperm count, and even the libido. This is why you see that. And then associated also with, erectile dysfunction. Also, zinc deficiency is associated with what we call congenital malformations. And things like it's associated with Down syndrome. So you see that a woman who is pregnant and is zinc deficient, you see that he would born a baby that would have a Down syndrome. Also, there's what we call the sudden infant death syndrome. It's also associated with zinc deficiency. A woman who is deficient in zinc, even when it delivers that baby, the baby dies suddenly. Wow. Also, another one that works hand in hand with zinc is also copper. It's also very important. Copper is very important in the formation of maturation of red blood cells.
So men that are contending with infertility could actually have their zinc level checked.
Very well, very well, and they should do this in conjunction with their own medical, doctor. Honestly, most of these problems that we think complicated, they are simple. You will be surprised that some of these mineral supplementation can correct some of these problems that you'll be running around for, years, because the body depends on that. The simple deficiency is deficiency. No amount of IVF that you will do and you have not corrected that zinc deficiency or copper deficiency or any of these vitamins and minerals that are associated with retention of, pregnancy will make that baby to, come to term. No.
Okay, so let's move on to the A in the
abuse.
list now. Yes, abuse.
A stands for abuse. And what do you mean about abuse? We all know that, you hear of drug abuse. Yes, there is certain, you can abuse your body. And once you abuse your body, then it results to so many conditions, disease, conditions. Take, for example, the use of, narcotics, the use of some of these, like amphetamines, the use of, cocaine, the use of tramadol, all of them that is being used. Hard drugs, simply put. They actually go to impair and interfere with the the central nervous system. Specifically, it affects what you call the neurotransmitters. These are chemicals that help the brain, to coordinate, communicate with one part and the other. The brain, if you look at the architecture of the brain is arranged in different, what you call nucleus, that functions and controls certain functions. Like the hypothalamus is associated with the control of, temperature. Look at then the other parts of the brain, like the caudate, putamen, and then the globus pallidus, all of them, they have different functions. The neurotransmitters, for example, there is one known as dopamine. Dopamine is what actually regulates and controls the fine motor movement. That's why we're able to move and see. Deficiency of dopamine, you can see that is what results in Parkinson's disease. Those fine movement control, they are no longer there, they are lost.
Okay.
You talk about abuse, you also think about sleep. Lack of sleep or sleep deprivation. You are abusing your body.
Not
the body is supposed
sleep.
Yeah, not adequate sleep. The body is supposed to get 7 to 8 hours a night. Then this should be at the right time. But you are abusing, you sleep only 3 hours or more so at even wrong hours. Sleeping 2 a.m., 3 a.m., this thing. Melatonin cycle is already gone. We had talked about melatonin before. So it is very important. It's very important for us not to abuse our body like alcohol. Excessive alcohol intake is also abuse. Talk about smoking that is associated with the lung cancer. Yeah. It is also abuse. So somebody will say your lifestyle is actually makes you whether to attain that 130 years or start life at just 70 when you are physically fit. Actually, no one ever dies of old age. We die because as we age, as a result of our lifestyle, which was wrong, that as we have discussed, then disease comes in. But if you are to be doing the right thing, following that is, you will live 70 years and start life, buzzing, enjoying life at the age of 70, and you go up to 130 years old.
So
T stands for toxicity. Yeah. Toxicity is very important. You see, the body is supposed to be clean. That's why you see that when we are born in young age, you see our body is relatively clean. We're able to, our energy production and so this, our organs and everything is working on fine. But as we age, as a result of wrong lifestyle, if you see that some of these toxins that the body produces and will get rid of things like urea, and it does not use it will accumulate and then becomes toxic to the liver. To the kidneys. There are two types of toxins. You have the endogenous toxins, those are the ones that are generated from the body, or you have the exogenous toxins, those are the ones that are found in the environment that we take. They should be in and out. The body should be able to, get rid of these toxins so that the physiological balance or the metabolism should be correct. Let me give an example. Talking about zinc and then the other mineral deficiencies, in as much as you can talk about the deficiency, then you also have excessiveness. It can be excessive, which is also not good. The key here, it should be adequate. So the body must maintain what we call a homeostatic balance. That is mean the toxins are not in excess, or actually they shouldn't be there. And if there are accumulating, the body should be able to get rid of them. If the body doesn't get rid of them, then disease, you are inviting disease. Disease comes in. Because what is happening is that disease is nothing but decreased ability of the body cells to utilize oxygen. Sure. In a toxic environment, oxygen cannot be used. And oxygen is very important in production of energy. So once you find oxygen there and it is not being used, you are inviting trouble. Or take for example, there is supposed your blood flow in the body is supposed to be clean. You have two types of blood flow. You have the venous blood and then you have the arterial blood. The venous blood is deoxygenated, then the arterial blood is oxygenated. And even if oxygen is not enough, you see that you are not able to carry on this properly. And some of these macronutrients, as Adelia said, they are involved in the function of the white blood cells, which are the major cells for the immune system. So the whole thing is really tied together. You cannot just look at one in isolation.
So, involving detoxification from time to time should be part
very
of
important.
our healthy lifestyle.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. But that is very important.
Let's move on to the next one.
It's infections. Let's look at different microorganisms that actually cause disease in the body. You have bacteria, you have viruses, you have fungus, you have what you call the mycoplasma, and the list continues. They are living organisms that they are not supposed to be in our body, but when they get into our body, like this SARS-CoV-2, they actually cause disease, or HIV, virus, or Ebola. They cause disease. Along with this, is also known. We're looking at infection and infestation. Infection is mainly looking at, you can be infected with bacteria, the virus, or the microbes. The infestation is just refers to especially things like worms. So you have hookworms that can really infest your body. You have to do regular deworming and then checking out to really get rid of this. So let's move to the next one. The next I is actually injury. Injury can be short-term injury, or it can be chronic injury. The one that we're mostly concerned with is the chronic injury, because the short-term injury that if it is an accident, or the surgeon or is there to take care of it. If a bone is broken, they will fix it. But where you have low residual chronic injury or chronic it leads to chronic inflammation, and inflammation is the hallmark of diseases. With inflammation, then you know that's a disease. Even if you look at this COVID-19, when the virus gets into the body, the body tries to handle it, and it's when it gets into the lungs, then there is excessive inflammation. There is an overwhelming inflammation. That is what you call the cytokine storms. Certain chemicals have been overexpressed or over-released, and they cause injury. That is what finally leads to death. Remaining the two. So the two are the sedentary living and then the stress. Let's do sedentary living. Sedentary living is lack of activity, inactivity. And let me emphasize here that it is important. This exercise ties down with exercise. Exercise is really very important. Of the two fluid systems that controls and regulate most of the metabolic functions in the body, that is the blood and the lymphatic system. The blood is actually taken care, pushed around the body by the heart. But the lymphatic system, which is very important component of our immune system, needs you to move. It is when you move that your lymphatic system actually moves. Okay. Now last.
So don't just tie yourself to one place.
Yeah, don't tie it. That's why we emphasize exercise. Need for, exercise. Ideally, you're not supposed to sit. I'm talking to executives and all that office hours. You're not supposed to sit in one seat for more than 2 hours. Yeah. No. You have to get up.
To use the stairs.
Yes, move around. Don't just go. Yes, move around. And then exercise is really very important, especially walking. When you come to a certain age of about 40, 50 and above, some people cannot tolerate this, jogging. So walking in the morning, like I walked this morning for at least 45 minutes. I do that around where I live. Very important. Not only are you taking fresh air, you're also moving your joints, helping your lymphatic flow, and then getting things come in. And then exercise is also associated with secretion of certain hormones known as endorphins. That is what makes you happy. That's why when you do exercise, you feel happy, you know. So
you're usually in high spirit when you do exercise because I feel it.
Okay,
I feel it when, you know,
so
after
Rabbi
my
agrees
workout
with me,
and-
so we better listen. Thank you. Sure. Then the last one is what?
Stress.
Stress. Stress is having your body or being under a condition that your body is overburdened. There are many causes of stress. Lack of exercise can also be it will cause stress in a reverse way for you. Then you can have this what you call emotional stress, where you are in a toxic relationship. It can also affect you. You also have mental stress. Maybe at your place of work you have too much, your brain is always charged, you have a deadline, submit this, do this. But the cause is not just only, but it's the effect. Because under stress, the body is induced to produce certain chemicals. Like, first of all, there is one known as adrenaline. That is what you call fight or flight, syndrome. Adrenaline comes and kicks in, boom. And that's what really enables you. As we're talking in here, if a lion comes in here, I'm sure you guys will jump through this. That energy level, boosted energy level comes in. Another chemical that is associated with stress is known as cortisol. Cortisol, unfortunately, it is secreted by the adrenal glands. And it has the effect of suppressing the immune system. And again, how do you avoid stress? Yes, is by exercise. Then this thing called about what? L-O-V-E, love. If you're able to give love and get love, it helps you a lot to really overcome, stress. You have a free mind. Then spirituality. You know that there is somebody greater than all the human beings that are in here, some that are wicked to you, some that are good to you. There is somebody greater who is overall, in charge. So once you have that faith, you're able to, move, confidently. You don't allow yourself to be depressed. Have a clean relationship, love, learn to do exercise, have leisure time, learn to have vacations, do things like that. They're all good for you, and you avoid the stress.
Thank you so much. There's been so much we got from you on this episode of Health Options, and we're hoping that Nigerians will put some of those things into practice for their own safety and well-being. Thank you so much for coming on the program, Dr. Tom Abidi.
Always my pleasure.
Hypertension or high blood pressure could lead to either stroke or death if not properly controlled. Take a look at this video on simple trick to lower blood pressure. That does it on this episode of Health Options. COVID-19 is still very much in our midst. So remember to take responsibility for your safety and that of other people. You can go to our YouTube channel to watch the upload of these and other episodes of the program. Email us for your comments and contributions at healthoptions@nta.gov.ng. I remain yours, Rabi Abdullah. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again.
you want to talk about rights, there are obligations. I'm not saying that this government is a saint, it's very far from it. But there are things that we can do to make it better, and that's the challenge I'm throwing to you. You don't want to build this nation? I don't know where else you want to go. If I had a choice, I'll come back. When I stand outside